But shed talk just us, cogitating the issues and mulling over our thoughts.
Hey guys, I just thought I'd do another one of my little shed talk videos. I've got some bigger videos coming in a few weeks when I get some really cool stuff to talk about. But last week was the end of the Benchrest UK season, and I must admit I'm pretty happy about how it turned out. You have seen on the group that our Facebook group that I won the Benchrest UK National Championships for the second time. I did it in 2023, and I also ended up the Benchrest UK #1 ranked shooter for the 4th year in a row. But I think the theme of this year's Benchrest UK Tour is respect to all shooters, because it's proved that anybody could win. And this year, honestly, has been my absolute crazy toughest season. And people have been winning left, right and centre. And I thought I'd take 5 minutes and just talk about what went on this season. So, you know, obviously the year started pretty busy for me when I got my British Empire medal. So that was cool. And then we moved on to Portishead, which is the Brass Monkey. And that is a non-ranking event, but it kind of sets us up for the year, gives us a bit of a practice, lets us know how we've got on over the winter, setting our gear up. And straight out of the trap there, we had Martin Hubbard and Mike Foster win both the light and heavy rifle events there. And both of them had never won a kind of national level event before. And it was fantastic to see that the standard of the tour is rising year on year. So I scraped, I think, a second and a third or something, and we moved on to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland, I loved Cleveland because it was absolutely windy. It was horrible. It was so bad. Some people even thought the guns were broke. They were shooting, find things that difficult. So on the first event, I think it was Neil Caddick won the light rifle. He's always there in the mix. He's a ex Air Ability Boot Camp winner. I think I won that. It was a heavy rifle on the next day, and I won the aggregates. It kind of slipped me into the #1 spot provisionally on the rankings, and we moved forward then on to Chippenham. Not a great start for me at Chippenham. Had a big blowout on the motorway on the way down. Never made it for practice day. Had to get the car sorted and fixed, but I got there for the tournament. Didn't do great. I think I got a 5th and a 6th at the tournament. Colin Biggs won. This is just proven that the standard's so high that anybody can win. Colin Biggs won I think he won the heavy rifle, and Jason Lockett won the light rifle and the aggregates. So again, people who don't usually win are winning these events. So I was still, because I was still in the mix, I was still provisionally #1 and hanging on there by the skin of my teeth. And we then went back to Portishead for the Ron Harden trophy, which is a memorial trophy for our friend Ron Harden, a former world champion. Now, this was Graham Freeman's weekend. There was nobody going to beat this man. This man was on fire. Have a look at the podcast that we did with him. There was no way this guy was not going to win. He went to, go all out to, show respect and love for his friend who we lost in 2023. So Graham won both the heavy and the light rifle, and I think he ended up 13 points ahead in the aggregates. And there's nothing you can say other than phenomenal to that. So then, after we were at Cleveland Portishead with the Ron Harden Cup, which was a great weekend. I scraped a couple of medals, but Graham did move into the #1 spot at that point, so I was twitching a bit on the provisional rankings. We went down to Cornwall, and what a reception. First time we've ever shot at Cornwall at the Duchy range, and the guys were fantastic with us. They looked after us like we were all friends. I can't say anything other than that. We had Cornish pasties, but the only issue was they said, come to Cornwall, it's sunny, late summer sun. It was the worst rain I've ever come across at a tournament. On the Saturday, Neil Caddick won again. So I think he was the only person to win 2 goals at 2 different tournaments at that point. So he was doing really well. And because of the conditions, I've called him Swamp Thing now, because he rose from the swamp. And as you can, I've wrote about these tournaments in detail in my column in Eagle World if you want to know more. But Neil won the day 1, the light rifle, and we moved into day 2 at Cornwall, and it was brighter. It wasn't bright, but it was brighter, and there was a few flashes of rain, but the wind was a killer. And at that point, Tom won the heavy rifle. I came second. Tom and I were first and second in the aggregate, and that then moved me back into the number 1 provisional ranking slot. Now, it was all down to the UK National Championships in Chippenham. We were back in Chippenham in last week in November. Graham and I were really the only 2 who could realistically be the UK number 1 when it came to the rankings. We would need, the people behind us would have needed us not to compete in one of the disciplines, like not turn up or have a rifle failure or something. So Graham and I, we were taking this quite seriously. So day 1, there was absolutely pretty much no wind. We had some problems with sunshine going straight down the scope. At one point, I was shooting between my fingers over the scope, trying to make some sort of rudimentary diopter. And I came out at the end of that day in 4th position. I think I was 3 points behind the leaders. The leaders were all on the same amount of points with different X's. So I was about 3 points behind, which was. So I was a bit disappointed about that, because the UK national champion is awarded the championship on the aggregate score of the whole weekend. So I was already behind. But I remembered I was also in 4th place when I won it in 2023 overnight on the Saturday. So I got up next morning on the Sunday, and I must admit I did have a smile on my face. It was windy. The weather was pretty crappy, and I love it when that element of challenge is there. I know that, you can never say whether you're going to win or not, because that's really disrespectful to other shooters. But if you're in the game, if you're in the mix. And when the wind came up and it was hitting me face in the car park, I was energized, and I knew this was game on. So we did the first card, and by the time I'd finished the first card on the Sunday, I was level pegging with the people who were beating me next day, the day before. And then I extended my lead over the next 2 cards to 9 points and won the UK National Championship. But I was beaten in the class by Tom by a couple of X's. So Tom won another gold, and he beat me by a few X's, and I was second in the heavy rifle class. So, but my aggregate score beat everybody by about 10 points. So I was awarded UK National Champion for the 2nd time. And pretty much I was really happy about that, because I have fought for every point this year. Nothing has come easy, and that's how it should be, because it's a sport. It just shows the level of rude health that the Benchrest UK Tour is in, because they've got all these absolutely wonderful shooters, including a guy called Ian Price, who's always been around the 4th and 5th mark on the tour. When he was doing it full time last year, and he never quite won one. But this year, in Chippenham at the last event, he won the light rifle, and I think he's the first person ever to win an event with an electronic Red Wolf rifle. So, as you can see, it was all new winners all the way through the season. We've never had a season like it. Usually we have 2 or 3 people pretty much win all the golds. So I'm really excited to go into next season, and wondering who else is going to be added to that kind of winners list. Because I tell you what, right, we've got a few people coming up now who are destined to win. There's a young lad called Josh Fowler. He's right on the cusp of winning. And I think it's only going to get harder to win an event on the Benchrest UK Tour. Anyway, thank you for indulging me, and take care. And I honestly have been living the egg hunt dream the last week. Take care. Bye-bye.